You can have the craziest loop or beat ever, but if your arrangement and exporting is off, you're killing your chances to get a placement. I've had industry producers telling me that they would move on to another loop if the arrangement on the first one was trash. They will also remember that you're a person who's hard to work with. So that's why today I'm going to show you exactly how you can arrange and export your beats the best way. So I would say let's not talk too much and let's get straight into it. Okay, so here we are in FL, and I thought that I first want to show y'all how I arrange my loops. And when arranging my loops, there's a couple of things to be aware of. The first thing is that you want to have some variation in it. So whether that's a B section that you flipped or some extra layers that come in and go out, it can be anything, just be creative on this part. And you also want to structure it so you make it as easy as possible to use for the drum maker later on. I'm going to explain this in a minute. And then you also want to add the stems, but first let's talk about having A and B sections. And when I arrange my loops, I always make sure that I have the most interesting element playing in the first 3 seconds. And since this loop that I'm about to show you right now isn't too special, I just made sure that I have a clean intro which sets the vibe instantly. So what I did is I started with the chords, of course. And because they sound a bit boring like that, I added both top lines. And to make it feel a bit more warm, I also added some keys. And then in the second section, I cut out all of these 3 elements and I added 3 new ones. That makes this whole thing sound interesting and it gets you a little switch up. So now we got this arpeggio guitar, we got a little vocal, and then we also got a bass. And the chords are just playing through it the whole time. And the reason why I added the bass in the second section and not in the first one is because I thought that I wanted to have the beat dropping right here. So the artist is probably recording the chorus in this section right here. So here we don't got any 808s going on. That's why I added the bass in this section right here. And then as I said, when the beat is supposed to drop, we got again some different shit going on. I cut out the vocal and I added the keys and the top lines as well again. And then in the second part of the chorus, I added the vocals again and I cut out the top line and the keys. So I always make sure that I have some kind of variation throughout the loop. And then this section right here is supposed to be the verse. And if we render this thing out, the drum maker could just copy it over with his drums and then he would already have his beat arranged. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that later when we arrange the full beat, so make sure to keep watching. But now, as I said, we also want to add stems. And the easiest way to do that is to copy over all the sounds that you got, selecting them all, and then copy them over 7 times because we got 7 layers. So we already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then select them all, and then you can hit Command and Shift to deselect the ones that you want to have in. I would deselect those. Now I would hit Command and X and delete those. But now we don't want to final export this. Before we come to exporting it, I always add my loop master preset from my Mix Essentials kit. Then I consolidate it, so hit Option, Command and C. Make sure you got the master effects on, hit Start. And once that is done, you got the consolidated file. And before we're gonna render this out, first double click it, hit normalize, and now you got it at a loud volume which is not clipping. Then go back into your mixer, reset selected tracks to default, so delete all the master effects that you got because we already applied them when consolidating it. Then I always right click here on the master so I solo it and no other tracks are playing. And now you can render it out. Also naming is pretty important, so let's call this one Fallout 162 A sharp minor prod by MST. Copy this, create the folder, and then I always save 2 things. First the zip file, hit save, and then also the MP3, of course, render it out without any effects, hit start, and then you got the loop rendered out. And now I'm gonna tell you the reason why we rendered out the loop as it is, plus added the stems. A couple of months ago I talked with a producer who's got me some real big major placements, and he told me that a lot of industry producers are very lazy. So that's why I always make it so easy for them by only adding the bass in the bridge and not throughout the whole loop. Of course they could just add a low cut filter, but depending on the bass it sometimes does not sound good. So sometimes they would be forced to use the stems. And since a lot of big major producers don't have a lot of time, or sometimes they may be just lazy, you want to make it as easy as possible for them. So as I told you right here, this is the intro, then you got the chorus with the drums, and then you got the verse with the drums. And then they could just make a cut right here at the bridge and then copy it over one more time, then cut out the last verse, make it shorter right here, add a fade out, make this shorter, do it like this, and then the beat would be arranged in just few seconds. And to make it a bit more interesting for the artist as well, you also want to add some variation to the drums. For example, I only added the kick at the very beginning, but you can also cut it out completely and then have the kick coming in the second part of the chorus. Also, what sounds really good is when you add another layer, copy the pattern from the clap, insert a hard hitting snare, paste the clap pattern, and then only let this snare play in the second part of the chorus and in the second part of the verse. Now when no kick is playing but only the 808, you don't got the snare and the clap, but as soon as the kick hits, also the clap hits a lot harder because of the snare. And then also what's good to make your beat sound a bit more interesting is to add these little cuts right here in the drums. So as you can see, I cut it out a bit of the hi-hat right here, so it transitions a bit harder into the second section. Also I cut it out the hi-hat right here when it comes into the first verse. And then also a big cut out on the last clap before it transitions into the second part of the first verse. And yeah, of course, make sure you automate your low cut. So this EQ right here, hit create automation clip and then turn it off at the parts where the 808 is not playing, so you can hear the bass. Because otherwise it would sound like this, which sounds very poor. So yeah, a couple of things where most producers mess up is when they add too much layers to their loops. So they just stack up too many layers. As you saw in the beginning, I only added 3 to 4, maybe 5 layers at one time, and then kept the others for the second section to add some variation. Then that leads me to my next point, is having no variation. Of course, unlabeled files, no BPM, no key. This is all annoying and avoidable stuff when exporting your loops or beats. And then also a big mistake is not double checking it. So y'all always want to double check, have I rendered out this loop correctly? Is there any mistakes with it? Did I label it correctly? BPM key, everything is right, and then you're set. Now clean arrangement and exporting is only one piece of the puzzle, of course, because even if you send out a perfect pack, it's about who gets it, when to send it, how to write the message, how to follow up in order to get it in the right rooms. And that's exactly what I teach inside Road to Platinum. My exact blueprint for getting your beats and loops in the right hands. The exact system that I use to land records with artists like NBA Youngboy, Hancho, and even DJ Khaled. So if you're a producer who's feeling stuck at the moment, who's consistent and who wants to finally start getting more placements, then click the first link in the description and feel free to check it out. But yeah, with that being said, make sure to arrange and export your loops the right way now. I hope you guys learned something from it. If yes, leave a like and a comment. Also let me know what y'all want to see next. Make sure to check out Road to Platinum if you finally want to get placements, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.